If I want to write a mediocre book, I will call on ChatGPT. That's my feeling. And the tools are amazing. The things they can do are astonishing. There's no question about that. And obviously, there's a lot of fear about them. But typically, the people who are afraid of ChatGPT, were afraid of something else 2 years ago and something else 5 years ago and something else 10 years ago. It's just the latest thing to latch fear onto. My attitude is that, it's a tool, and tools can be used for good or evil, and, it'll shake out at a level above my pay grade. In terms of what I do, my unique ability is not so much writing, it's listening. And it's listening with love, and it's listening for the things that the client is not quite saying, but wishes he could or she could say.
This is the Play Your Position podcast, where we huddle up, call the plays, and inspire you to run your ball into the end zone. Are you ready to score more game-winning touchdowns in your life, business, and career? Then listen up, because it's game time, baby. Now, here's your host, Mary Lou Kaiser.
Hello, everyone. Mary Lou Kaiser here. Welcome to today's episode of the Play Your Position podcast. I am excited you are joining us today because I've got a great conversation in store for you with someone who is going to take us inside the world of ghostwriting, particularly because a lot of people want to write a book and don't either have the time to do it or just want some help. And he's going to enlighten us about what that can look like and some of the people that he has actually ghostwritten for, along with a lot of other great stories. His name is Michael Levin. He's coming to us from the state of New Jersey today. Michael, are you ready for kickoff?
Mary Lou, I'm ready. Let's do this.
Yeah, let's do it. So team, here are some things I know about Michael. He asked this question: how do you get people to trust you when they don't even know you? If you aren't a thought leader, you're a commodity. There's no middle ground here. And the most powerful, exciting, and fun way to rescue yourself from the commodity trap is by having a book of your own. Michael Levin is a New York Times bestselling author and the world's most experienced ghostwriter. He is responsible for the writing, editing, planning, and publishing of more than 1,000 books over a 30-year career. Today, Michael is going to talk about how you can get your own book done quickly and easily, even without employing a ghostwriter. So with that said, Michael, I am so excited to talk with you today because a lot of people do think about writing a book and don't know where to start, have a lot of questions about it, and are curious about the ghostwriting process. But before we get to that, let's set the stage with your story about when you first got the call to leadership. How old were you? What was going on in your life at the time? And how did answering that call lead you to doing what you're doing, what you've been doing for the last 30 years?
Mary Lou, I was wearing my peasant dress when I saw a burning cross in the sky, and I knew that I had to take back France from the infidels. That's an exaggeration. I'll wait till you stop cracking up.
No, that's fun. I love it.
Okay. No, that's a great question. The serious answer would be, I was working for my college newspaper. I was a writer or news editor for my college newspaper, and as a sophomore, and one of the student groups took over our offices. It was the late 70s, and that's what one did. You took over the student offices of the newspaper. So there were about 17 of us in there, crammed for the editorial board meeting, and these were really smart kids, and not just smart kids, but great writers. And many of them went on to really great careers in writing or in business or anything. Mm-hmm. And I started taking notes on what people were saying and how we as a newspaper were going to react to having been taken over. And there was really not a word spoken, but it was just sort of understood that I would write the story. And I got in. This is Amherst College. It's a great school. I got in off the waiting list. So I always had this sense that everybody else was a little smarter than I was, which may well be true. But there was an absolute unanimity on the part of an unspoken unanimity that I would write that story, which would be front page the next morning. And I did. And so I came out of that meeting with two thoughts. One is, well, I got to write the story, which is fine. I like writing. And the other is, wow, these people are really smart. And they didn't even discuss it. It was just sort of understood that I would write it. So if there was a call to leadership in my life, that would be it.
Okay. I like that you have a very distinct moment when you realized, you could say there was a line between the Michael before that moment and then the Michael after. So fast forward to today, you have ghostwritten, as I said in the intro, over 1,000 books. You've worked with some very famous names. What is it about what you do that continues to call you to doing it?
Well, I'm constantly learning, and that's why I love it. I call this job the greatest grad school in the history of the world, because the people who are the best at what they do are paying me to watch them think and to listen to them. So, it's a huge privilege. And, at 10 o'clock this morning, I was, working on a second book for a client that's a $100 million business. And it's sort of a more philosophical work than I usually do. Usually what I do are books as marketing tools or thought leadership tools or memoirs or books with athletes and so on. So this is a little different. And I'm just sitting there drinking it in because these are things I've never thought about, never heard of. And these are really, really smart people. And what I find is that watching smart people think is like going to the game and watching a great athlete throw or bat or do something. It's the same, it's that same sense of awe that you have for somebody who's really practiced his or her craft and has become just outstanding at it. So that's kind of the coolness. And then, just finding the book in sort of the gestalt of what they're thinking is fun. And then when they get excited, I get excited. And then when they have the book in their hands and I have their book in their hands, it's a happy day. So it's pretty good gig.
Right. It is a great gig because no two people are the same. So you are learning different things. Even if you do several athletes in a row, each one had a different journey that you're going to get inside that journey. I'm sure there are listeners who are asking themselves, okay, we're in the era of artificial intelligence. ChatGPT hit the scene about a year ago as of this recording. It has taken the world by storm. There's all kinds of headlines right now about, the board and all this nonsense. And yet a lot of people have adopted this tool to help them write. What is your take on the human writer, which you are, and the artificial intelligence writer tools that are they've been around for a while. I mean, ChatGPT was not the first kid on the block here. There were other ones prior to that. But as somebody who's been in this business for as long as you have and have seen what a book can do for somebody, what is your take on what's going on with these tech tools that keep coming out and saying, here, you can just talk into your mic and it becomes this thing?
If I want to write a mediocre book, I will call on ChatGPT. That's my feeling. I mean, the tools are amazing. The things they can do are astonishing. There's no question about that. And obviously, there's a lot of fear about them. But typically, the people who are afraid of ChatGPT, were afraid of something else 2 years ago and something else 5 years ago and something else 10 years ago. It's just the latest thing to latch fear onto. My attitude is that, it's a tool and tools can be used for good or evil, and it'll shake out at a level above my pay grade. In terms of what I do, my unique ability is not so much writing, it's listening. And it's listening with love, and it's listening for the things that the client is not quite saying, but wishes he could or she could say. And they don't have an artificial intelligence tool as of yet that can do any of those things. So, I haven't written 1,000 books. I have a team, and I had a bigger team back in the day and sold that company, and now I have a smaller team, and it's a little more boutique-y. But the thing is that 1,000 books into a career, I've either read a lot of the books in pretty much any vertical that I write for, whether it's business, finance, real estate, medicine, body, mind, spirit, memoirs, sports, and so on. I've either read them or have written them. So as a result, if you were my client, you and I could talk for an hour. And in that hour, I know when you're saying something that no one else in your field is saying. And this is something, it's not just ChatGPT that cannot do that. It's most other people in my field. Gray hair counts for something. And in this case, it means, it means that and it doesn't just mean that I have 4 kids. It means that I've read or written a lot of what's out there. And to have the ability to say to a client, whoa, stop right there. What did you say? No one's ever said that before. What was that word? That's going to be the title of the book. I don't lose sleep over the possibility that they'll build some sort of technological platform that can do that, because I don't think they can. I think it's just way too human, way too intimate. Two of my clients over the years have written checks to Dr. Levin. And, I'm not a doctor. I don't even play one on TV, but it's
it sounds good.
It sounds great. It is intimate. Somebody just called me the Michael Jordan of ghostwriting. And I put that right on the top of my website.
I saw that.
I love that. That's fun.
It is fun.
So, the day AI can beat Michael Jordan one-on-one is the day that AI can write a better book than I can.
I love that. I mean, my team P by P knows I'm a writer too. And I've had many conversations over the last year, particularly about the rise of AI and how it's infiltrating so much of the conversation. And over again, I hear people echo what you're saying, is that we don't have a machine yet that can, mimic what it feels like to be human. And it has its place. It can be a time saver for certain tasks, but when it comes to the actual listening, like you just described, and able to really extract that essence of another human, it's only the other human that can do that. And it's clear that you do that well. So you mentioned that you had a larger company at one time, and this is where I'm going to guide you into telling us about your little stint on Shark Tank, because I happened to see you. I was talking to Michael in the pre-chat about how I remember seeing you on a Shark Tank episode, and I was so fascinated by that, because I'm like, wow, this guy is doing the work that I do, because I was at that time working with first-time authors and helping them get their books published on Amazon. And I was wondering what was going to come of it. And I'd love for you to tell the story about how'd you find your way onto Shark Tank, what happened, and then something about Barbara Corcoran's shoes.
It was actually my shoes, but yes.
Oh, the shoe. Okay.
But it is the Barbara Corcoran shoe story. You're absolutely right. And this is not something that I share often. But since you happen to see the show, I had been interviewing the executive producer of Shark Tank for a client's book. And as I'm sitting there listening, talking about one cool business after the next, I was feeling increasingly less than, because, all these entrepreneurs with their cool, pickle recipes and, fire nozzles and all this stuff that I can't relate to. It was very depressing. Here I am, a typist, and these people are, really doing great things in the world and getting on TV. About 40 minutes into the interview, the executive producer said, "I'd like to turn this conversation around. Have you ever thought about applying for our show?" And I looked over at my assistant, who was sitting there, just to make sure I'd actually heard that and hadn't dreamt it.
Yeah.
It's like, she nodded like, "Yeah, you heard it." And I said, "No, because there's nothing sexy about my business. It's me in a room typing." And he said, "I disagree. I think it's very sexy, and I want you to apply." So if the executive producer of Shark Tank wants you to apply, I have good news. You're getting on Shark Tank.
Yes.
Unless you just throw up all over your executive producer. So, I did the guy. I did I did the videos and the forms and all of it, and went through all the hoops. And before you knew it, I was standing outside a soundstage at the Sony Studios, with 110 other entrepreneurs, and standing out there shouting out my pitch at the top of my lungs, because that's what you're supposed to do. And I was thinking, either I'm going on Shark Tank, or I'm just one other person in Los Angeles who's lost his mind and he's shouting until they arrest him.
So that's what happens at that point. Interesting.
Yeah, they just help you get over your nerves. And then I went in, and I felt like I'd been miniaturized and shrunk and stuck in my TV. And there's about a minute and a half once you walk in, before the lighting guys and the sound guys have, the camera guys have set everything up. So you're standing on the carpet, kind of looking at the sharks, and they're kind of looking at you. And it's a really weird thing. And they're like, "Okay, go." So I went into my thing, and none of them wanted to invest because, as we discussed, this isn't scalable. Damon John asked me, I have a Damon John story for you too, if you want it. Damon John said, can you do a version of this for lower income people? And I said, unfortunately, I cannot, and keep the quality. So he templed his hands and said, "I'm out."
Mm-hmm.
And before they did, Robert said, he paid me a great compliment. He said, "You've done what like 0.0001% of writers have ever done. You've made a serious business out of this." And that really kind of changed my life, that moment, because I was sort of ashamed about being a ghostwriter.
Oh, wow.
I had sold a bunch of novels to Simon & Schuster, and then I couldn't sell the next one, and I ran out of money and ended up eventually ghostwriting. I sort of backed into it. And until then, it was sort of like taking in laundry in my mind. But then all of a sudden, I was like, this isn't something to trifle with. And 30,000 people, this is season 3, 30,000 people applied for the show, 110 taped, and of the 110, only 35 were deemed good enough television to air in that season. So, you kind of buck the odds when the executive producer wants you.
Definitely.
So just before, this is a Barbara Corcoran moment. So just before I left, and I'm feeling kind of glum because, I didn't think I'd get a deal, but you're competitive. You want one. It felt like I'd lost, and then I probably won't even air since I didn't get a deal. I didn't get to hug a shark and all that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Barbara says, wait, before you go. And I turn around like, what's going on? You're out. You're all out. What are we doing here? And she said, I just have to ask you something. And she had been kind of really mean to me. The others had been very courteous. And I guess they told her, you've got to step up your game, be a little more of an attack dog. So she hadn't been very nice.
Oh, dear. Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah.
Well, I do. I mean, it was like,
of course you do.
She's insulting my character on national television. So then she says, I just have to ask you, what's your shoe size? I turned to Robert and I said, when you came out, I said, look at his shoes. His shoes are enormous. What are your shoe size? And I was just really taken aback. First of all, I'm still like dealing with the feelings of just being rejected by 5 shows. And now, because the thing is that it's like, I mean, the question behind the question is it's a sexual question. It was
right.
like, I say to a woman, what's your whatever? So it was really off.
Yeah.
And it was really, really off. And I just turned to her and I said, Barbara, it's going to cost you $250,000 to find out what my shoe size is.
What did she say to that?
I don't know.
Touché?
I just turned around and walked off. I didn't wait to find out.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that story. I love that behind the scenes.
Yeah,
and what was the Damon John story?
Yeah, the shoe story did not air.
No. Oh, no.
It did not. So Damon was working with a mentor of mine on a book. And so they decided to bring me in. This is a couple months after the taping.
Okay.
So I dressed up as nicely as I could, and I wearing my Burberry's raincoat, which admittedly, was a few years old by that point. And I walk into the hotel and the hotel bar, and there's Damon with a few other people. Looks me up and down and says, "Man, what kind of raincoat is that? You look like a child molester in that thing." Like, well, this meeting's off to a great start. So These are the joys of ghostwriting.
Boy, I tell you. Well, it's interesting that you talked about before the Shark Tank stories about the feeling ashamed about being a writer, about being a ghostwriter, and yet you then mentioned after the Shark Tank that was a pivotal moment for you. Talk about that. What changed fundamentally for you, Michael, in terms of how you saw yourself and how you showed up for your business, and maybe as a leader you're certainly a leader in the ghostwriting space. I mean, there are other people that do this, but you've got a really amazing track record and the longevity. This ghostwriting, and even running a ghostwriting group like you do, a business that has people doing the work too. It's not easy work. It's intense work.
Yeah, it's a really great question. As I said, at the time, I had sold 3 novels to Simon & Schuster, and we couldn't come to terms on a 4th. I'd written it, but I couldn't sell it. And I was literally a starving writer, and I started offering writing classes, and that led to people saying, consult with me. That led to people saying, just write it for me. And at the time, my vision had always been, I'm just going to sit by the pool and toss a novel off to New York every year, and it's going to be great. Didn't work out that way. So there really was a sense of, defeat. And then working on other people's books, I didn't really appreciate initially at the time the opportunity that I had to serve. And then, Shark Tank happened, and it was really it was an intervention on national television on me, disguised as Shark Tank, to convince me that I was something that I'd never dreamt that I'd ever, care to be, which was a successful entrepreneur. And it was really it was an awakening to see myself that way. And so after that, I started taking sales training and marketing training, and went to Disney Institute to learn customer service, and I went to Strategic Coach to learn how to be a good entrepreneur. Still go, and little by little, I learned how to run a business, and it's no small thing to me that I've provided employment for hundreds of writers over the years.
Yeah, that's huge.
Writers, editors, and the job has always been, like, anybody who works for us, the job is. It's intended to be what would have been the perfect job when I was a starving writer, which is to stay interesting work. You're well paid. Whether you're writing or editing, whatever you're doing, you're interviewing, and you don't have to do anything. The work just comes to you, and you're paid on time, and you're in an atmosphere of mutual respect. I always tell the team, we're like the Ritz-Carlton of ghostwriting. We are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen.
I love that.
They're sick of it comes out of their ears. But the thing is that we are.
Yeah.
And our clients stay at the Ritz-Carlton. They fly private. They're wealthy people. So others are on their way up, or they're and they're used to a very high level of service, and they're used to outstanding results, and they're used to being able to talk to people who are on their level. This is one of the things that you have to be really careful with if you're hiring a ghostwriter. In our colleges and universities today, the kids are being taught to despise business, which is unfortunate. And ironically, they love their Lululemon, their iPhones, their Starbucks, and they didn't build their own iPhones; they bought them from a corporation. So I'm not going to say business is perfect or anything like that, but I will say that there's a lot that's great about the fact that I don't have to build my own phone or build my own car; that I can just go get one. And so you have to be really careful if you're hiring a ghost that the person doesn't have a subconscious anti-business bias or doesn't respect business people. I've had people, it hasn't happened often. I've had people slip, messages into manuscripts, people on my team, that were just really heinous. And
really?
And man, I don't get angry much, but they hear it from me, and they're not going to sit down for a while after they get the tongue lashing for doing something like that. And of course, they're fired on the spot.
I was going to say, that's got to be grounds for dismissal immediately.
Instant and irrevocable. So, but the thing, it's like, that's my problem if I'm hiring writers or hiring editors. But the thing is that if you're hiring ghostwriters, it's your problem, because you've got to make sure that your person does not have this crazy anti-business or anti-business person bias. That right. I think it's an infection that's spreading in our schools, as opposed to rational thought. But since that's how it is, you have to. Then does the person have any experience? There are no standards for ghostwriting. Anybody can put up a website and say I'm a ghostwriter.
Yes,
because you get white papers, Snapchat, Instaface, all the social media stuff, and I do books. Oh, okay. How much is a book? Well, it's $5,000, and I'll come paint your house. Great, let's get started. So, the reality is that good ghostwriting is expensive, and
it is.
So are nice houses, and so are nice cars. But the thing is, like with houses and cars, you get what you pay for. Damn, I'm talking a lot. Ask me another question.
It's halftime here at the Play Your Position podcast, and we've got ourselves a great game. While you're up grabbing another snack and topping off your favorite beverage, make sure to subscribe to the show so you never miss another play. PYP is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever great podcasts can be found. Now, let's get back to the game.
I've become aware of what you were just talking about. I follow a guy on LinkedIn who I interviewed a man who was a writer in technology earlier this year, a man named Kevin Maney, who wrote a book with these other three guys from Silicon. He wrote many books, but the one that put him really on the map was this book called Play Bigger, and it's about category design. And it's a really cool,
Yeah.
You're familiar with it, right?
It's a fantastic book. It's
Fantastic.
a very important book.
Incredibly important book. I mean, my mind was, after talking with Kevin for an hour, I literally for a week was like my brain was just going crazy because no one had presented that concept to me in that way. And I had a pivotal moment where now I just see the world differently from that. And that's one of the things that I love about this show is I get to talk to people like you who open my eyes to a different way of seeing the world. And when you talk about what's going on, what's being taught in these colleges, I'm beginning to see people on LinkedIn who are very loudly saying this needs to stop because the younger generation is buying into a worldview that it's different and it's counterintuitive not in a good way.
No, it's
It's anti. I mean, I'm just going to say it. It's anti-capitalism. It's anti-entrepreneurship.
Yes.
And I understand to a degree where it's coming from. However, it's not critical. They're not thinking critically. I feel like critical thinking has slipped in terms of, and partly because we're inundated with so much information all the time, which is why what you're doing with these successful people, whatever they come from, whether it's baseball or football or finance or real estate, they've been boots on the ground doing work. And it hasn't always been easy, and life wasn't always handed to them, and they didn't always have a bunch of money or the cars or the houses. You know, they scrapped and they had some bad times in life. And there are lessons there that only a book can I think broadcast. And that is my next question to you is, what is it's kind of a biased question because you're in this industry, but what is the value of a book anymore? That would be the devil's advocate saying, oh, well, Michael, we have YouTube now. And why does anybody need to read? Why are books still important?
Books are magic. And I'll explain why in a second. I want to come back to our earlier discussion about what's going on college campuses. We are training younger people for a world that does not exist and should never exist. And everything is wrong. Everything that they're learning is wrong. And there's this thing about Charlie Brown saying to one of his friends, "Poor Linus, it's going to take him twice as long to go through school as everybody else. He's going to have to unlearn everything Lucy told him, and then he's going to have to learn reality." And that's how it is. And part of the package is this anti-capitalist nonsense, which is, it's easy to talk about when you're a tenured professor and you don't have to meet payroll. But the thing is that here in the real world, the people who create jobs are the entrepreneurs. And one of them, a very successful entrepreneur client of mine, just told me a week and a half ago in an interview, he was quoting Elon Musk, that entrepreneurs are people who have to stare into the abyss every day and stare at failure every day. And they're the ones who have to handle the problems that no one else can handle or will handle or wants to handle. That's what it means to be an entrepreneur. So to them go the spoils, and at the same time to society goes thousands of jobs and tens of thousands of opportunities. The government does not create jobs. The Fortune 5000 does not create a lot of jobs. The people who really create the jobs in America are the entrepreneurs. So not everybody can be or should be or wants to be an entrepreneur. I respect that.
No.
Other people are, if that's not you, then don't do it, but don't knock it. Because without them, you're not going to eat. I'm doing a book now for a hedge fund that works with climate issues. And their philosophy is that the way climate change will be handled is when investors see profit to be made from the products and services that will cool the climate. And so that's what his fund looks for, is investment opportunities and things that will make a difference for investors as well as for the client. And that's where the change is going to come from. It's not going to be the government. They're going to go sit down in Dubai and for 13 days and blather. And it's a lot of hot air. That's where the climate change is coming from. It's coming from these conferences and from cow methane. So, anyway, that's.
But it's important, I think, to bring these topics up because time is marching forward. Okay. We do have problems. And to your point, that's why entrepreneurs are so, so important, that entrepreneurs see things differently than somebody who just wants to go work, say, in a school or a hospital, which we need people like that. My brother's in the trades. We desperately need people to enter the trades. There aren't enough plumbers. There aren't enough electricians. We all rely on our plumbing and our electricity, and houses don't just build themselves. We don't have a bunch of robots building custom homes, and we need all kinds of people, including entrepreneurs. And so I'm disappointed and discouraged to hear what's going on. I had a sense about it because my kids are recent graduates of college, and I would hear things from them, and I'd be like, wait a minute. And I have to bite my tongue sometimes because you want to keep the peace in the family. Everybody's allowed to have their point of view. So let's go back to the whole thing about the value of books.
Of a book. Yes.
Yeah.
We'll come down from the heated discussions. So, today it's true. I think people are reading fewer books, and they're listening. That counts. So they're reading ebooks. That counts. But by and large, I've always, whenever I've flown, and this goes back to my 20s, I just walk up and down the aisles and see who's reading what and who's doing what. And back in the day, half the people had a book in their lap and they were reading the book. Today, you might see 2 books out of 120 people on a flight, and that includes ebooks. Everybody else is, they're watching whatever on their laptops, or they're doing spreadsheets, or whatever. So ironically, in an era where fewer people are reading books, to have a book makes you stand out even more because you wrote one, or people say, is ghostwriting legitimate? Look, I have a lawn. I don't mow my lawn, but it's my lawn. I hire a guy to mow my lawn, so it's still my lawn. But, I'm here to facilitate the dissemination of other people's ideas in their voices, as long as they have a positive message and a positive attitude. And, when you put a book out into the world, there are people only you can help. These are people who do not relate to the life experience or the thinking of others. And, I'll give you a couple of examples. I did a book last year for a woman who had gone through the most horrific things imaginable. She had been sexually abused by her father, and then by her husband. And then this guy who was helping her get out of her marriage turned out not to be such a good guy, and was sex trafficking her on the weekends.
Oh my God!
We're going to tell everybody in your community, and she lives in a small religious community. We're going to tell everybody what you're doing and that you chose to do it if you try to get out. And she finally did get out and took 5 years of therapy. And now she uses the book and she speaks in front of and she speaks in front of audiences of 25,000 people. And not every ghost would have taken that project on.
Right.
I would. So, but the thing is that, a financial advisor, I do a lot of books for financial advisors, and I have a new website called Advisor Ghost, which is just for them, for wealth managers. And what we do, and I always encourage them, fly your freak flag, say what you believe in. I was closing a deal with one, we were going over the agreement with an advisor, and everything, no matter what I said, he would turn the conversation back to the then $20 trillion federal deficit. This is the confidentiality clause. It means I don't disclose that I worked with you or any information you share, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, okay, fine. But did you know there's a $20 trillion federal debt, and it's going to take us down, and we're rearranging debt. Okay, fine. Now this clause over, no matter what I said, he kept. So I got back to the office to look up his website, because I figured it'd be all over his website. There's not a word about the $20 trillion federal debt on his website. So I called him up. I said, dude, what's the deal? He said, if I put that on my website, people will think I'm crazy. I said, well, as soon as they start talking to you, they'll know you're crazy unless they feel the same way you do. And so what we need to do is write a book that is 70% about the debt and 30% about how to arrange your financial affairs, given the fact that this exists. And I'll tell you why. It's because all the people who feel the way you do need a champion and no one else is speaking up for them.
Right.
And what's better than that is they all know each other. They all go to the same clubs. They're going to pass you around. That's exactly what happened. We did a book just along those lines, and he's the darling of the individuals who believe that today they're nostalgic for the $20 trillion. Their handkerchiefs get moist at the thought of it now because whatever is 33 billion or 35, whatever it is, trillion.
Yeah.
So, but that's the thing. It's if you stand up for what you believe in, you're going to attract the people who are your constituency, your tribe, as Seth Godin would say. And you might say, well, I'm going to alienate all the other people. No. They were never your prospects to begin with. And you getting any of them is as random as playing roulette. And playing roulette and hope are not strategies for business.
No, they're not.
That's what the magic of a book is. It's a force multiplier to get your message out to the people who most need to hear it, whether it's in a financial setting, as we discussed, or whether it's in a personal setting, as my client did, helping women get out of this kind of horrific situation. So,
yeah. I want to emphasize something you just said because it's so profound and so important. And that is, and I don't care if it's a book or it's a business or it's a movement, whatever it is, everybody is not interested in what you're doing, but there are people that are, and that's who you're talking to. That's it. That's it. Your freak flag, there are others who are flying the same one. And I love that language because it's so specific. And people are like, no, I don't want to, exclude anybody. Well, guess what? Everybody doesn't care.
That's right.
About anything. There are people who hate Apple, and Apple owns most of the phones. Most of us have an iPhone. I don't know what the stats are. I could be misquoting here, but there are people who refuse to support Apple. Well, is that hurting Apple? Nope, not in the least, right? And there are people who will never read the book you just described about the woman, and there will be people that never read about the guy that you were talking about because that's not their jam. So the ones that do, that's what matters. And that's why books matter. I couldn't agree more. I'm a huge book advocate. And it is, I like that you said, despite the fact that people are reading less, that makes being a writer of a book, an author of a book, even more important today.
Yeah, 100%.
Makes you stand out.
Makes you stand out. And if you're over 35, you grew up in the era of mass entertainment. Mm-hmm. And, the country shut down for the Super Bowl and everybody watched the Oscars, 100 million people. Today, the World Series. Today, these are, except for, the Super Bowl is still, it's 50 million instead of 100 million, whatever it is. But the rest of these things are totally niche today. To find somebody who actually sat through more than a half an hour of any World Series game, it's really hard. And the country used to stand still for the World Series or for the Oscars or for any of these, major event type things. It's over. So today, you basically have people with a mass market mentality who don't recognize that it's time to narrowcast. It's time to aim at your niche. Well, your niche will make you rich. I had a prospect. I couldn't close him on a deal, and it's not hard to see why. He came in. I said, "What do you do?" He said, "I sell insurance. I sell retirement planning to firefighters in the state of California when they're in their last year of service." I said, "Wow, how's that working for you?" He says, "It's great. They pass me from firehouse to firehouse. They know I'm the guy. I just travel around and everybody trusts me, and because there's a lot of goodwill because I've been doing this." I said, "Wow, you could expand to police officers, peace officers. You could expand to every librarians, any other state workers." He said, "Don't need to. My niche makes me rich. Didn't need a book." So I was like, "What are we doing here?" He's like, "Yeah, you're right." And that was the end of it. And he didn't need a book, but most people don't have that sort of authority. And when you're the author, you are the authority.
Right.
And everybody else. Dan Sullivan, a strategic coach, talks about the commodity trap, which is to say that because of the internet, buyers have far more choices than they ever did. It used to be that people were limited by a 5-mile brick and mortar radius around their homes for their accountant or whatever. And today, because of the internet, you can find people anywhere. You can find people in other countries who will write your book. I don't know if it's going to be any good, to be honest, but you can.
You want to go for it, do.
I'm not standing in your way. You
No.
can, call me when you spend all that money and we'll get your real book done. But the point is that the fact that the internet offers so many choices to buyers means that everyone and everything is turned into a commodity. online, and commodities are judged primarily on price.
Yep.
And it's a race to the bottom. And then on top of that, everybody's websites look exactly the same. Every financial advisor website that, practically everyone, if they've got the same stock photo of the attractively dressed young people shaking hands across a glass table. What the hell does that even mean? What on earth does that mean? I can't fit every law firm. There's 8 guys sitting there with suits or with dresses in front of books. Oh, that makes me trust you. That makes you stand out. Are you high?
I know.
It's like, how are you denominating what makes you different and special? How are you describing your uniqueness with that stupid stock photo? I don't think so. If they switched out your website and your chief competitor's website tonight, would either of you notice for months? I don't think so.
No.
So then when you have a book, it all of a sudden it's like, whoa, this person's an author. So instead of you trying to get on their schedule, they're trying to get on yours. It changes everything. Everything when you can tell your story.
No, it does. It really, really does. And people just respond differently to you when they find out they're an author, and inevitably you get, I've had an idea for a book. I mean, how many times have you heard that conversation, right?
I hope I keep hearing it forever. I mean,
yes, absolutely.
Puts bread on my table. So
yeah, it definitely does. Okay, so I think people listening are probably thinking, yeah, I'm on board here. I agree. Now, do you have certain criteria for the kinds of people that you work with? I know you've mentioned, some big names or just alluded to some big names. Is there a ceiling, or, that line where the firefighter was a good example, or the insurance guy that sold to firehouses, wasn't a good fit because he was already winning, right? A book wasn't going to add anything.
Yeah.
So who is your ideal client?
My ideal client is a positive person with a positive message. And that's it. Those are the criteria. And it could be in any field. If they're in finance, they should go to Advisor Ghost. If they're in anything else, if they're body, mind, spirit, or they're a doctor, or they are an entrepreneur or a consultant, or they want a memoir because it's time to capture their life story, do a lot of those. Then they should go to Michael Levin Writes, which is the .com. And, I'm doing a book right now for an owner of a Major League Baseball team. It's his memoir. I'm doing a book, or just finishing that, doing one for a company that's one of the national beachwear brands, the CEO and founder of that company, because they're at a point where they want to, there's a huge real estate guy. So they want to capture their story for their friends, their family. They don't necessarily want to put it on Amazon. They're not looking to make money from it necessarily. And then my business clients are looking to use their books as thought leadership tools, as sales tools, as marketing tools. For my financial advisors, one of the challenges they have is that they sell the prospect, but then the prospect has to go sell the co-decision makers, whether it's a spouse or the accountant or the attorney or whatever. So, if I go home to my wife and I say, hey, I found the guy, she'll give me that eye roll, like the last guy you found. Whereas if I say, and here's his book, it's different. So
it is.
So then, so this way your centers of influence have something to hand out, and they're marketing on your behalf. The cheapest and simplest way to do book marketing is to identify 100 prospects, write 100 letters, 100 cover letters, stick 100 copies of books into 100 envelopes and mail them to them and say, hey, we should talk. I wrote this and I think you're the kind of person I'd like to work with. You can do that for under $1,000. When was the last time you got a book in the mail from somebody who solved a problem that you need solving? Don't you think you're going to give that person a hearing? So, it's not about money. It's not about book sales. You have to let that go.
Yep.
You can buy bestseller status.
You can. But talk about that for a minute, would you please? Because that's something that people see and still have a perception of, what is that? What is going on there?
Well, it's a broken system. I mean, anybody can go on and put their book up on Amazon, drop the price for a couple of days. And as long as it's in a sub list for an hour in the top 100, it's an Amazon bestseller forever. And Amazon has never come out against this system. So obviously they like it because it causes a lot of sales on Amazon. So Correct. That's the fastest, cheapest, dirtiest way. I have 2 publicists who will guarantee you bestseller status on the Wall Street Journal and USA Today lists for $60,000 or $65,000. I know of 2 publicists who claim that they can get a book on the New York Times list, and they charge over $300,000 to do it. but they don't guarantee it. So you're taking a shot with 300,000. And if you have gazillions and 300,000 means nothing to you, then knock yourself out.
Right.
Although you'll have to get their names from somebody else, because I don't really,
you don't truck in that.
I don't truck in them.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, so bestseller status is, it's a bit of a misnomer. It also doesn't make you money. What I'm interested in, I tell my clients, is my clients becoming best earning authors.
Ooh, I like that.
You like that? I have a website, bestearningauthor.com. And I have a course there that teaches you everything you need to know about how to do a book without me or without any other ghostwriter. And you go to Best Earning Author, it's 6 hours and 40 minutes. It is as comprehensive as can be, and it's fun. And you learn how to organize, plan, write, or be interviewed for your book, how to publish it, how to market, and best of all, how to monetize it. So the book is out there working for you and creating mailbox money and bringing in new clients or new money that your firm is going to manage, or whatever you want to do, or just getting your message out.
Yeah.
So you can go to michaellevinwrites.com where advisor goes and hire me, or you can go to bestearningauthor.com and do it yourself. And I'll also say that if you want to get in touch with me, this is my cell. My cell number is 616. It's an Apple one. It's an iPhone. My cell. I love Apple. Are you kidding?
I love Apple too. I would never have any other kind of phone ever.
I'm never going back. I had an Android for an hour. I called it my almost phone because it did everything almost as well as the iPhone.
Oh, I know.
But my cell is 617-543-3747. And I'll say it again. It's 617-543-3747. Or you can put it in the show notes.
I will.
Operators are not standing by. It's going to go to this phone, and I'm going to pick it up, and you're going to say, I saw you on Mary Lou, and I want to talk. Because
I love it.
I once spoke with a consultant and whose cell number was on his website. I said, why'd you do that? He says, people don't call unless they really need to. I said, oh, okay.
Yeah, so. It's true. It's absolutely true. So team, this conversation is awesome for a number of reasons. One, Michael, you have dropped so much value to me and to my audience today. And two, you have affirmed for something that I've believed in for so long, which is in the power of putting your thoughts, your stories, your ideas into words, into a book. I am proud of the authors that I have helped in a previous life. I'm proud of my own work, and I'm a huge fan of what you do. Again, I don't know why that night I happened to catch you on Shark Tank, but you really, what it affirmed for me as a writer was that that books do matter and they can change lives, and it's worth doing if it's part of your vision. If it's not, and you don't want to make the investment of time and money, then don't. There's other things you can be doing. But for those of you who have been considering a book, you have two options. You can work with Michael and his team directly with the ghostwriting, or you can do the DIY. And I'm going to openly say this. I am going to go take that course. I'd like to learn from you because you have been doing this a lot longer, and I think I could pick up some things for my own writing, So thank you for putting the time into creating that course. And team, please get in touch with Michael if you or someone is considering a book. You're not going to find anybody better.
Wow, thank you. That's really nice of you.
I do. I like to spread the love and promote people who are doing great work in the world, and you certainly are. As we come to the end of our hour today, which I can't believe is up already, what are a couple of books that you personally have turned to throughout your journey? What books are influencing you, Michael, in terms of your mindset, your just, encouraging you to keep going, whatever it may be?
Yeah. I mean, they've been the same answer going on 30 years now, or 30 years. One is Catherine Ponder, Ponder, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity.
Okay.
She just has a light touch, and she really teaches you how to think about the spirituality of money and the spirituality of work.
Nice.
And so I'm a big fan of hers. And Winnie the Pooh never goes out of style.
Okay.
And I'm also really big on Earl Nightingale. I don't know if
I love Earl Nightingale.
I've been an Earl Nightingale guy for decades, and I listen to him sometimes in the mornings, or just when I'm kind of getting myself together in the morning, and just that whiskey
Lead the
voice.
field.
Yeah, lead the field.
Lead the
Strangest
field.
secret word is attitude. That
I
whiskey
love
voice.
his voice.
So it just it just makes you feel. I mean, any of those people, Jim Rohn and big Tony guy, but if you're going to get one book, make it Catherine Ponder, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity. She's got another 15 books behind that one, so that's a good entry point. But she's had massive effect on my thinking, and so that's a little word to the wise.
I've never heard of her or that book. I love when that happens on this show, because there are the crowd favorites that I hear over and over again. And I love that you brought up Earl Nightingale, because he's old school, but boy, is he timeless. And Lead the Field I have that on my phone, and I will listen to him periodically too. And Winnie the Pooh, of course, who, oh gosh, the whole little, I think children's books sometimes are our best teachers, especially when you have cute animals and friends. And you mentioned Peanuts, you mentioned Winnie the Pooh.
Well, this is how my mind works. There's a moment in Winnie the Pooh that really explains writing, where Tigger comes to town in the house at Pooh Corner, and he's very upsetting because he's not really English. He's sort of foreigner.
Right.
So Pooh writes a poem about him, which is how he deals with his anxiety, his stranger danger and his, immigrant anxiety. And he says, and no one knows how high he bounces or how much he weighs in pounds, shillings, or ounces. And Piglet says, but Pooh, shillings are a unit of currency, not weight. And Pooh says, yes, but that's what came to me when I was writing the poem. And the art of writing is letting things come. And I was like, okay, all right. That's that you like that. Huh?
I do. I love that. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I've got an old copy of Winnie the Pooh from, I think, my parents' childhood. I've got to find it. It's in a box somewhere in this attic, and I'm going to go dig it out because of that. Oh, it's wonderful. And Michael, this has just been such a treat for me. Thank you so much for your sense of humor, your willingness to share very openly about your business and about the state of the world. And before we say goodbye, what would you like to leave Team PYP with? What words of wisdom?
You have to keep moving forward. You just have to, you can't let anything, you can let things get you down for 15 minutes, but you must keep moving forward. The world, you were created for a reason, and you were the only person who can accomplish your mission. So keep on moving forward, never give up, and it's all going to be okay. Even when it's not okay, or it seems like it's not okay, it is okay. So that's my deep thought for the day.
Hey team, Mary Lou here. Who's number one is from year to year. Fashion trends come and go, same with musical tastes, but leadership skills, they never go out of style. In fact, these days, leadership is an essential survival skill for a world that demands more from us than ever before. To succeed these days, you need to know how to show so that you can then do the work you love with people you like the way you want. The Play Your Position Leadership Playbook helps you do this, and it's free. Go to pyppodcast.com to download your copy today. If being more successful this year, next year, in the 21st century is on your to-do list, copy of the Play Your Position Leadership Playbook now. pyppodcast.com. It's at the top of the page. You can't miss it. That's pyppodcast.com, and start being more of the leader you are meant to be today.
This podcast was produced by Daniel Romeros. Show notes for this episode can be found over at pyppodcast.com. I'm Mary Lou Kaiser. Thanks for listening.
Here at the Play Your Position podcast, we believe that the road to self-mastery and a life well lived starts with answering the call to leadership. That's when the fun really begins. Send this episode to any friends who might need to hear the inspiration and ideas you heard today. And feel free to rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform.